Hey y'all, it's me, Ashley Nicole of Getting My Cheese Back on My Cracker Foundation. And tonight we're going to be talking about something that's really interesting to me. From the time I was a child, the women in my life were always doing so many things. I also was doing so many things, even as a child. It's expected that we do all of the things and we do them well. Black women in America often feel pressured to act like superwomen to cope with the stress of life, racism, discrimination, sexism, all of the isms on a daily basis, which can also have health implications. When doing some research on this topic, I actually read a study that said some stereotypes of women, and then it dispelled all of those stereotypes to explain why Black women are superwomen. So basically, we have to be extra everything to not be seen as stereotypical. I decided that I wanted to chat with these lovely women that I have on the show tonight, who I've witnessed being superwomen today. So let's meet our guests. Hey y'all.
Hey,
Hi.
hey.
Can I get y'all to introduce yourselves? And whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump in. So I'm Danine Garrett, and I was a strong Black woman, but I'm not gonna buy into that any longer. Which we'll talk about in the conversation. So I guess maybe a reform, retired, whatever you want to call it. But I'm giving that up, right? I'm giving that up. Being the strong person in scenarios. And so a little bit about me is that I am passionate about elevating the voices of women of color in conversation, supporting women of color, Black women in particular. So when I saw this opportunity, I definitely wanted to be a part of it and support you, Ashley. And so I'm glad to be here on this platform with you and Victoria.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll go. My name is Victoria Hart. So, about me, I'm a native Houstonian. I was just talking to Ashley about my homecoming coming up. So, graduate of the Texas Southern University, major in English, and I guess I'm going to give up that myth of being a strong Black woman as well. I think we all need to make sure that uh, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing in the community and in our professional lives and our personal lives. But when we need the help, we need to be able to say that, hey, we need the help, and lean on the network of family and friends that we have. So I'm no longer saying I'm a strong Black woman, just like Deneen as well.
Absolutely. I definitely agree, and I'm glad that we're at least starting on that foot because there's this is going to be a conversation to be had.
Hmm.
So researchers found that when faced with levels of different issues, Black women seem to protect everything except for themselves to like cope, right? So have you? Let's just start with: have you heard prior to me asking you to be on this show of Black women being referred to as superwomen, and what are your thoughts regarding this idea?
Deneen, I'll let you go first.
Oh,
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, all the time. Probably every day. On social media, you're seeing something about being a strong Black woman. Today, I posted this event on LinkedIn today, and I asked the question, "Hey, are you a strong Black woman? Do you know a strong Black woman?" And the people that responded, the Black women, they were like, "Yeah, I'm a strong Black woman," and they were so emphatic about it. And I was like, "Bless your heart," right? And I was like, "Well, make sure you take care of you." Because that's
mhm,
where I'm at, right? Every Sunday, also on LinkedIn, I'm pushing like self care for any and everybody. Take care of yourselves because we don't. You know what I'm saying? And we don't because everybody's talking about self care. If
Mhm,
self care was something that we just automatically did and was just norm, people wouldn't
mhm,
talk about it as much, right? We wouldn't push it. We wouldn't have hashtag self care and whatnot
mhm,
because we would automatically do it and we're not. And I think
mhm,
from 2020, from the murder of George Floyd, during COVID, is when I really started people standing up to like say, wait a minute, you know, uh, I come first, and I'm going to take care of me first, and so I'm going to take that cape off. And
mhm.
go ahead and get what it is that I want and I need for myself. But we're doing what they tell you to do on a plane, putting the mask on first. We're starting to do that now.
Mhm.
I totally agree. I think when I think of a super Black woman, I think of a woman, well, past. in the past, I've always thought of women who have their hands in everything or who's trying to take care of everything. And oftentimes they're at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to, being taken care of. And so just like Deneen said, like we got to put ourselves first. I agree with you, Deneen. I feel like in 2020, you saw a surge of mental health being that, are starting to normalize that conversation, and what it means to be mentally whole and mental wellness. And then now you've seen a surge of therapists, having wait times to give people, because people understand now that we have to have these conversations and we have to be able to say like, hey, look, I'm not okay. Let me talk to someone and be able to figure things out, as opposed to taking on everything as what we've seen the normalized of the super Black woman do, taking everything and not taking care of ourselves. So I don't ever see it as now as a badge of honor, because I think oftentimes we're taking on everything and not thinking of ourselves.
Yeah, and you know what? And along with that, other people, you're strong, so you got this. You know what I'm saying? So they don't ever come to us and say, "Hey, how you doing? What do you need?" Because we're always giving this facade often, right? Because we're human and we feel, but we're walking around like, "Oh no, I got this. I'm doing it." And so nobody is like, what you need?" Because you got this. And I'll give you this example of where I didn't even understand what was going on. So it was several years ago. I had a person who was on my team, and he took the day off. He had a wife and kids, so he took the day off to be at home because a service person was coming to the house. So I don't know what they were coming for. It didn't really matter, but somebody was coming. Let's just say a repair person. So I'm like, your wife can't take care of that? And that's because we do it ourselves. We just take care of things. We're there to greet that person. And it hit me afterwards. No, he's doing what a man is supposed to do, or a husband is supposed to do, or a partner is supposed to do. Like, be the head of the household if that's who and what you are. And that was kind of like foreign to me.
Or if it's a situation where you shy away from receiving help. If someone says, "Hey, can I help you?" and you're like, "No," because you're just not used to people actually reaching out to help you, because you think that you have it all together. So it's also like shying away from that too.
Yeah. And so my example with that is Sunday. So I said mentally I'm going to do this. So I was on the elevator, and you need a key card to push the floor. And I didn't have mine handy. And so the person behind me, a guy, was like reaching for his. Now I had it at this point, right? But I said, nope, let him help me. I had to consciously say, nope, girl, just hold on and let this man, because he went into his, pocket, whatever, pulled out his wallet. So let this man be a man. And I did. And I was like proud of myself, but that's crazy, because that should have been like just second nature for me, right? It shouldn't have been something that I'm actually really thinking about and like pausing to let happen. It should just be natural. But not being a strong Black woman.
And I wonder if that is because as Black women, we don't want to seem weak, or we don't want to seem vulnerable, because of that. Like, I don't know, like when you just brought up your example, I thought of a situation literally like last week. I was at an event and I was carrying a box to my car, and this guy came up to me and was just like, "Hey, I got it." I was like, "No, I got it. Don't worry about it." And he was like, "No, like and I was like, "No, I'm fine. I got it." But I don't know what in me would not allow him to take that box to my car.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, you know what? And I do have, some response to that. But Ashley, I didn't know if you want to weigh in or.
It's fine. I'm just enjoying y'all's conversation.
So my kind of thoughts on that, I think it's many things. I don't think it's any one. I think for different people, it's different. It could be that people have let you down in the past. And so you're not going to give a person that opportunity. And an example of that would be like, if I invite a number of people to something and they don't show up, I'm not going to jump to invite them to the next thing.
Yeah.
Now, they may have valid reasons for not showing up, right? But for me, I'm like, well, y'all let me down that time, so I'm not going to even put myself out there this next time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's one thing. I also think that we were raised as Black girls to be strong. Like, my dad died when I was 12. So my mom raised my sister and I, for most, majority of growing up. Right. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
used to not having that male person in the house and my mom doing it all. So that's what I
Mm-hmm.
saw. And that's what I emulated. Right. And so that just became my life as well. Just used to doing it on my own.
So I have a question. So you can answer, or you can let Victoria answer because you kind of answered it for the most part. But what age were you? So I understand you realized that you started being strong around 12 when you had to. But what age did you realize that that was basically a characteristic of Black women?
Um, you know what? So just going through like the early 20s, whatever, it was just, just being and doing. I
Mm-hmm.
think it would be maybe the last 10, 15 years, just
Mm-hmm.
being aware of, right, just fully being aware of it. But I would say, like, since 2020, rebuking it. Like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
trying to be there anymore. Like, why do we have to? Because people overlook us, right? When you think about like Serena Williams and what she went through, when she said, my body, I know what's happening with my body, but people were
Mm-hmm.
dismissive towards her. And then I
Mm-hmm.
even thought about situations where, you know what, that happened to me and I didn't even realize it, and it does happen, but we're so used to the treatment. Again, people also perceiving us as strong. So they're like, oh, well, you don't need this. You're good.
Right.
I don't need to help you. You know what I'm saying? Nope, you don't need this medication or this extra time or whatever the situation
Mm-hmm.
is. You don't need it because you're strong,
Mm-hmm.
and then we perpetuate that because Victoria, she ain't letting a brother man carry a box. So now next time he may or may not ask the next person if he
Right.
can help them out, right? So yeah, and I want to put a stop and an end to all of that. Help me out, And
Mm-hmm.
it takes practice because again on Sunday, and I'm thinking about this, I'm on a plane. My luggage was, overhead. So I said, I'm gonna ask this guy in front of me to grab my luggage. I really thought about this. And I was even thinking, well, what if he, didn't? Like, nah. And he did. And I was again proud of myself, but that's crazy for me to have
Yeah.
put that thought
Mm-hmm.
into that.
I think for me it was probably around the age of 18 and like having conversations with my mother about dating and about marriage. And something so small, I remember my mother saying that if you're married, you need to have your own. You need to
Mhm.
have your own savings account. You need to have your own checking account separate from your husband because you don't know what's going to happen. And I think even with that mindset, it's just like I got to make sure that I'm doing this and this and this and this. And there's no true partnership when it comes to that. And I was like, well, mom, well, doesn't that mean that you're kind of like preparing for, the end of the, and she's like, no, we got to make sure we had our stuff together. And I was like, okay, okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was at the age of 18. And my mother was, have been married to my dad for a very long time, but and I would assume maybe like she probably got that type of thinking from her mother. My grandmother was a single mom raising four kids, and so it's like if any man comes into your life, it's like great, but I'm doing me.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So so I would say 18 for sure for me.
So y'all mentioned something earlier, and right around the George Floyd and all of the aftermath of that, and the realizing that you got to take some time for yourself. I started noticing not only are people talking about self care a lot, but one word that I keep hearing is resilient, 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 resilient. How do y'all feel about the thought of being resilient, kind of taking the place of being that, to me, being a superwoman or being strong in all facets?
I think I I can take that word. honestly,
Mhm.
because I think that when you show resilience, it's a it's a fail forward. Like
Mhm.
there's a situation where you may not have been triumphant, but you learn from it and you're back on the grind. And I don't
Mhm.
think that necessarily, because I think that oftentimes we don't want to fail, or we don't
Mhm.
want people to see the failure. And I struggle with that at the age, I'm 38. I struggle with failing in front of people. I
Mm.
struggle with having to say that, yeah, I did this wrong and I should have done it this way. Because I feel like as a Black woman, um, oftentimes that, you know, we are seen as emotional, we're seen as dramatic, and I'm like, I got to put on this face and this front that I have all of this together. And so if I fail in front of people, then it's just like the stigma of that a woman couldn't do it, or a
Mm.
Black
Mhm.
woman couldn't do it. And so I struggle with that. But I feel like I take that word resilient, meaning that, like, if I failed, I got back up and I tried again,
Mm.
for me.
Yeah. And listening to you, I understand that perspective. I also, actually, when you first asked the question, to me, it was pretty much the same as a strong Black woman. It was the same. I think the difference would be is that there's so much negativity that has been placed around strong Black woman, right? Angry Black woman, it's all kind of
Mhm.
the same camp. Um, and so the resiliency really is a byproduct of being strong, or
Mhm.
that is part of being strong, right? It's really all of that, and we've been all of that forever. But again, in 2020, we had a awakening to say, wait a minute,
Mhm.
I am the strong, I am resilient, I am a high achiever, overproducer, all of those things, high performer, but you ain't trying to check for me.
Mm-mm.
And so we said, you know what? Okay, I got this. I'm out. Right? Like if you're not going to give me what I'm worth, then I'm out. And that's what was happening as well. It's like, and it wasn't, and it was a strength to be able to walk away from a place that you may have spent years at. Cause I've seen that. People were leaving places, companies they've been at 10, 15, 20 years. And they were like people who were like getting it done because they woke up and said, hold up. Okay, so you're not cool. They are over here, and I'm gone. I'm out. Or I'm going to start and do my own. If I'm going to grind, I'm going to grind for myself.
Mm.
Absolutely. I did also want to pick up on something I heard earlier. When Victoria, you were talking about your situation with the boxes, and you mentioned vulnerability. Do you think that you allow yourself to be vulnerable more now that you have stepped away from being a superwoman, or was that something that you had to learn? And how do you stop?
I think I'm still learning that, to be honest. And when so Deneen, I'm president of a Black young professional organization, and oftentimes, um, it's me being vulnerable in those spaces is me trying my best to not take on everything. And I think that because you want to make sure that everything goes well, but then of course you have to make the time for you. And I'll give you an example of, there was a moment where I just felt so beaten up, so just down. And I remember a friend of mine was just like, "Do you need to take some time off?" And I was like, "No, I can't,
Mm,
because if I don't take the time, if I take this time off, this won't happen, and this won't happen, and this won't happen, and this won't happen." And it got to a point where literally, and I'm a spiritual person. I just remember that it was just like God was just like, "You're gonna have to sit down." And it took for me to be crying in a moment that I literally have to call my friend and say, "Hey, look, I may need that time. I'm gonna take this week off." And I had never done that throughout the course of the time that I had been on the within this organization and a part of the leadership. I had never taken time off. Um, but I said, I need to take a week off. And I literally gave a list of
yeah.
action items, and I disconnected from the computer. I disconnected from the text messages so that I could truly reset my mind. But it took for me to be vulnerable in that moment to say, I need help.
Yeah.
Like I can't, I really need the time off. So I'm still working on that. I'm still learning to say that I need help and not be ashamed to say that I need help.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? It takes practice, because what I shared as far as Sunday, that was me being vulnerable. That was me being vulnerable to allow somebody to help me in both situations. Because again, I could have done it, like I said, with the key card, something that simple. Like I didn't have it initially, but I did get to it before he did. But I had to be like, nope, just hold on. This man he's going through these steps just to help you. And I'm sure it sounds simple to those that are like watching, listening. But that's just an example of strong Black women. Something so simple that we're like, we got this, you know what I'm saying? And when somebody is trying to help us, we have to really practice allowing them to help us. So no, I'm with you on that vulnerability. Definitely, it takes practice, because we're just so used to being and doing. We're so used to and the things that we were taught and learned and instilled in us and that we see, right? All of this is perpetuated in anything that we're seeing on TV, social media, all of that is just the whole strong Black woman. And like I said, when I posted today, a couple of women, they were like, yeah, and the way and I'm perceiving it this way, but the way they were like, I'm a strong Black woman, with a badge of honor. And it's great. And take care of you.
Yeah.
Make sure you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
So when either of you kind of made that transition from, okay, I'm not going to be strong all the time, I'm going to allow myself some leeway. I know both of you mentioned self-care. What are some of the things that you do as a part of your self-care routine? What is some of your maintenance?
I'm learning to meditate, to kind of clear my mind of the noise. I'm also taking the time to, like, it's so funny that like the smallest things that I can remember my mom doing when she was when I was younger, like getting her hair done. It just helps you feel better about yourself. Me getting my hair done, getting my nails done, getting a pedicure is all self-care to me, because it helps you feel good about you. And then, like I said, me meditating, me taking those quiet times, prayer, it's helping me to reset my mind every time. And the times where I feel like just the weight of the world is on me, I will take a moment, and I literally have I have the Bible app. And so I have a setting on the app where it's a reminder to pray. Yeah. And oftentimes it's funny that sometimes I can be in a moment where I'm just, and then it'll be a reminder, pray right now. And I'm like, oh, right, let me pray about it. And oftentimes it's like me praying, it's just really me talking it out and talking about what I'm going through and what my problem is, what the grievance is, and then just kind of sitting with it and figuring out how I can work through that.
No, that's great. And so for me, I'm in a situation to whereas I'm in control of my life. I live a dream lifestyle. I've been living a dream lifestyle. I made the decision to do so in January. And so, that required me thinking about, well, what is a dream lifestyle for me? And a major component is travel. So I travel whenever. Yeah, I travel whenever, wherever, right? And it's not even that I'm going to exotic locations, but if I want to hop on a plane and go to Chicago to go to the museum and come back, I'll do that. And so that's what I mean by living a dream. I may want to come meet y'all, let's meet up for lunch. Let's go to the Breakfast Club, and I can do that because I've set my life up to be that way.
Shout out to the Breakfast Club.
Yes, right. And again, the art behind me, that's, the artist, she has her stuff there often. But so for me, it's more so that when I am travel, I disconnect from social media. So I'm not, when I'm traveling, I'm not on any social media platform. I'm not active. I'm being present. So I'm working to be more present when I'm at an event or when I'm traveling, right? Because that is a form of self-care. Because so often we're like head down in the phone. Let me speak for me, let me take this picture and let me post it right now.
You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone.
It's the next thing because I'm too busy trying to come up with a cute little caption or whatever as opposed to being in the moment. So now, after the fact, I'll put together a reel, and go on IG and share it and whatnot. But it's after because I want to be in the moment. So for me, a lot of that self care is changing some behaviors. And another thing that I'll say, could we can perceive it as self care is I'm practicing body positivity.
Hmm.
So, y'all may have seen some memes that were like, okay, this is the body you're gonna get, right? And it might have been a picture of a little pudgy girl, right, in her bathing
Mhm.
suit. And grown women were like, well, hey, this is the summer body you getting.
Mhm.
And that's where I'm at. I'm like, this is the body I have, and I'm gonna love it, all aspects of it, and do the work to be healthier. So
Hmm.
whatever healthier may be and look like, that's like my prayer. That's what I wake up and go to sleep saying, to myself. Part of attracting and manifesting is for me to have that body positivity, right? So no, I'm not, slim. I'm not what that body that I had several years ago, and even, when I was maybe 20 pounds lighter and thought I was heavy, what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like
I
none
was
of
like, let me be the weight that I thought when I was heavy.
Yeah, so you know what? I'm done with that. Like I'm rebuking all of that and saying this is the body that I have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm going to wear what I want to wear with this body, and the little midsection is a little extra, but it is what it is because it's me. And somebody had posted something today. Look at me talking about social media, but somebody was posted today, and it was I forget what the caption was around it, but it was a woman stretch marks. Her stomach were stretch marks, and it was something positive about that. And my response was, I'm her. Like my body, my is a reminder that I carry life,
Yeah.
right? So it's your perspective, how you look at things, all of that. I mean, this is it. And so I was in Cabo a couple weeks ago with my two-piece on. Now I don't have your traditional two-piece body, but again, this is my body. I love my body, and I'm wearing this two-piece. And so I wore, took pictures, and I even included it in my reel, um, because this is who I am. So I'm not going to hide that. I'm not going to hide behind, put on those big shirts, put a big purse or whatever in front. This is me. I own me. I love me, and I'm going to do the work to be healthier.
Mhm.
I like that you said that body positivity can
Mhm.
definitely be self care. Like
Mhm.
I I have been noticing on social media and people's Instagrams and TikToks where they're basically celebrating their body stretch marks,
Yep.
um, weight, and all. And me personally, I was just like, I guess because I grew up like um, that's something that needs to be hidden. But then
Right.
it's like you said, this is just proof that I brought life into this world. And you have women who just have a slim body, but they have the stretch marks on their stomach because they were pregnant. But the thing is, does that make them less beautiful? And then I think the fact that they can sit there and put that out there because they love their bodies,
Mhm.
it's just I love that. I love that. I love
Mhm.
body positivity is also self
Yeah.
care. I like
And
that.
I'm gonna tell y'all, and this is y'all one of y'all homegirls, if I'm not mistaken, but Lizzo.
Okay.
Lizzo has Big Girls or something on Prime.
Mhm.
Watch it. Because these are big girls. And they know they're big girls. We know they're big girls. And the what she's spoken to them, what she provided them, like she made them feel beautiful. She made them like own it. And those girls, like she said, you got to be able to dance, move 90 minutes when you're working with me. I can't do that.
Mhm.
And I'm not nowhere near the sizes of those girls, but guess what? I can't do it.
Mhm.
So my thing is people will talk about, oh, she's big. And they can do a whole bunch more than us, people who are not that size. So it's not even about that. It's about your mindset, about you loving and owning you. So I love Lizzo for that.
Yeah.
Mhm. So we've talked a lot about, you know, vulnerability, being so strong, being super. Do you think that the people who are still standing in their strong Black womanness, do you think that it's possible to manage mental health and be super?
Oh,
You know what I'm going to say? Yes, absolutely. Because because so we have a broad general definition of a strong black woman, but then just like I'm saying, I'm not being that anymore, or I'm saying I'm owning the body positivity. You can do that with a strong black woman as well, right? We can
Mhm.
get away from the negative that we others may have attached to that and own it. So those women who said, I am strong, what does strength mean to them? Right.
Mhm.
I don't know their story as to why that is so important for them to say, I am this.
Mhm.
I don't know the areas that they grew up in where strength, they may have needed strength to survive.
Mhm.
Right. So it's not that it's bad, I guess, for me, how I've been the strong black woman. I choose not to be that anymore. So for
Mhm.
me, it's, it was about, I got it, I'm doing it all on my own. That's what my strong black woman looked like. I don't want that strong black woman anymore.
Mhm.
Right. And so, no, I do agree you can still be successful and great. All depends on what strong black woman means to you and how you're living with that strong black woman. So if you're just taking on everything and constantly putting more and more on your plate, you're constantly stressed out, so on and so forth. No, you're not doing it. You need to do some other things. You need to, take a break. You need to find somebody else. And like with me, so I retired in June. And in June, I'm like, this whole summer, I don't want to think. Don't ask me nothing. I don't want to think. And that's how my summer pretty much was. I do not want to think. So then in September, I'm like, let me get back into my podcast and whatever. So now I want to kind of think a little bit. And this past weekend, I was saying to somebody, like, everything, like, I just wanted to go easy. So I said about how I have my life structured and whatnot. I just want things to go with the flow. Well, now I know that for me to take things to the next level, I am going to need to put that energy in and or get help. So
Mhm.
now I'm in the process of let me figure out what I need a virtual assistant to do for me and then to hire one. So
Mhm.
I recognize, Victoria, like you were talking, I recognize that I'm not going to do it all, right? I don't choose to do it all. So I want that help, right? Because I don't want to do it all. I don't want to think and do every aspect of things. So let me go ahead and get that help, build that team, and that's where I'm at.
I think from a mental health standpoint, I I champion for women who acknowledge when they notice that something's not right. And
Mhm.
for them, because I feel like that's a true superpower to be able to say that, to be able to advocate for yourself, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I think that when it comes to mental health, which is like a huge thing now, and you think back, I can remember when I had decided to go to a therapist, right? And my mother told me that, I don't know why you're doing that. You just need to pray, and you just need to, as if me talking to someone was a weakness, or
Mhm.
I wasn't as strong because I was talking to someone. And 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 when I had another conversation with her later on, so this is something I actually shared with a couple of people who were on my team, that that I feel comfortable sharing now, that at some point within my term as president, I could not get out of bed.
Mm.
It was a challenge to get up in the morning. I was working from home, so I was remote, and it was hard for me to just do day to day tasks.
Mhm.
And I realized that something was not right. And I remember talking to someone, talking to a professional, a mental health professional, and they had suggested antidepressants,
Mm.
and it put me in a bad headspace because I was just like, "What does that mean?" But then once I got out of that mindset, I had a conversation with um, someone that I knew that told me that just made me feel better about the decision to take them. She told me that it had changed her for the better. And once you get out of this this negative connotation of what it means to be on this spectrum, and when it comes to mental health, when you get out of that, you understand what the medicine is for. And so
Mhm.
I truly believe, like I said, I truly believe that the superpower is understanding when something is wrong, advocating for yourself, and being able to say that I need to fix this.
Mhm.
And I have been on them, And I'm seeing a change. And there were times where I did not want to be on them because I felt that there was a stigma behind that. But once I got out of that, it was like, okay, let me just take this time to really focus on me, regardless of what anybody would ever say about it, and try to be mentally whole for myself, not for anybody else or not what anybody else would think, but for Victoria.
Yeah.
So
No, good.
Mhm.
Congratulations to you, and kudos for that. And I do love that you said, you know, anyone who makes the decision to take care of themselves, you know, that's the superpower. Because you're actually, you know, absolutely right. A lot of people don't, right? That's why we have so many broken people, because we're not taking care of ourselves. We're not going and getting what we need, the help that we need. So, you know, good for you.
thanks.
I absolutely agree. And I think you're doing a great job as president.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, I think that one of the it's either one or the other. We're having all of the stereotypes being thrown at Black women, or we're actually living in that truth. We are being strong. We are a little emotional, or I like to say, passionate about our business and about our things. Um, do you feel like you have what it you have what you need in order to be vulnerable, to be passionate, to be strong, to advocate for yourself? Or do you feel like that's something that you've learned as you're taking this journey?
For one, will say that I have an amazing support system. And there were people in my life that once I kind of, revealed a part of that journey about myself, they let me in and let me know that that was something that they had dealt with. And it makes you feel better to know that you have someone who can say that, hey, I was in this position. I know what it, you know, how you feel. I know like the path that you're on. I know it may seem scary. I know that I mean, we could talk about it. We could discuss it. And I'll kudos to one of my friends who had she celebrated her birthday with some of her closest girlfriends that had like a little slumber party, which I thought was really cute. But she was very intentional about making sure that we had a girls talk, but it wasn't the conventional girls talk. It was a girls talk with a licensed therapist. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, I was like, this is different. But
Hmm.
I was just amazed at just the different outlooks of what it means to be strong, and like, and how some women, as women, we just feel that we have to, like we've said before, take on a lot. And some of the things that we need to, in order to do to make sure that we're not in those spaces, and how we can lean on each other, and not be afraid to say, hey, I need help.
Yeah.
um, but I feel like I have like a great supportive space, friends and family who support me. They're willing to, and I'll say this, I've had a friend of mine who said to me, like, hey, if I come to him and talk to him about something, he'll ask, like, hey, is are you calling to vent, or do you want my advice?
Yeah.
Mm.
And I love him for that, because it gives me that space to say, I just want to vent. Like, I don't really want the advice from you. I just want to be able to kind of say what I want to say and then just breathe. And then that, like I said, I love friendships like that, where you can actually say, like, I I know family members that'll be like, well, girl, you should have did this, and like, I just really just wanted to talk about it. So I love, like I said, I love the supportive space that I have.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I've done that myself to other people. Like, okay, because I'm going to automatically go into, okay, here's, the solution for it. Right.
Right.
Um, so with some people, I'm like, oh, what is this call about? Right. Are you venting? Do you want me to be me? What are you looking for here? What you call me for? So no, I really get that. Have been like a solo person for so long. So that with the whole strong, just doing by myself, doing by myself. And so I mentioned that I was in Cabo, and so I was with a friend, and I, because again, I'm used to traveling by myself, I automatically turn the lock. Whenever I go into the hotel room, I'm turning the lock. So I had locked her out. And apparently she had been knocking on the door trying to get in for the longest time. And then I eventually heard her and got up to let her in. And someone the next day was like, well, you can't do that when you have a roommate. And I said, well, it was an accident. Like I didn't intentionally lock her out.
Mhm.
I was just doing what I'm used to doing. But
Mhm.
again, because I'm solo.
Yeah.
So, so the point around that is when we are so used to doing it all on our own, we exclude people. We don't include people. We don't let them in. We just move through life. Like I'm carrying those boxes myself because I always carry boxes by myself.
Mhm.
I'm going to lock this door because I always lock this door. So we do things and we kind of exclude people, right? So that's another reason why I'm like, I don't want to be that strong, Black woman anymore. I don't want to be that one who's taking it all on, who's, doing it all. So for me, it's about practicing. It's really being intentional to let people in. And that's, what it's about, letting people in to be able to say, okay, yes, hey, can you help me with this? Or to go ahead and even though, Susie didn't come to, the event that I invited her to, invite her to the next one. It might have just been bad timing, right? Like don't add anything to situations. Don't put anything on it. Just go ahead. If you want that person at this thing, then invite them. And don't put those attachments around it. Just invite them and keep it moving.
Mhm. I'm learning because Susie will never get another invite from me.
I was
It
about
might
to
be
say
some
for me
years for Susie gets to get her another invite.
Victoria,
We
you're
just see
not
it
gonna
on
invite
Facebook.
Susie either.
I, mm,
We're recovering. It's a work in progress.
yeah, you're right. It's a work in progress.
Learning,
It's a
I'm
work in
learning.
girl. I
progress.
know, because Susie might not get an invite from me either. And let me just say, Susie is just a made up name because I do have a cousin named Susie, and I'm not talking about her.
Like Susie, real Susie, we will invite
Disclaimer,
you.
disclaimer.
Fake Susie might not get another invite.
Right, right.
One question that I did want to ask, as far as being strong and being vulnerable, what advice would you give to a younger version of yourself that would have helped you mentally, help your mental health in regards to your strength or being
Yeah.
that strong Black woman?
I would say lean on people, like lean on people. I'm at it, like I've been solo for so long. Now I'm wanting that community. Now I'm wanting that sisterhood. And so now I have to work towards it as
Mhm.
opposed to I could have already had it. I was like, a group person for a long time. I don't know what exactly happened, but something happened. I think it was after somebody's death, and it was a friend, not even necessarily a close friend, but I think at that moment, it just changed things for me. Maybe that just, like whole, previous deaths, family deaths, maybe it just all hit me and so then I changed and I was more so from that point on, I was kind of like solo. Like if I interacted, I might have only interacted with one or two other people because it was just more comfortable that way to manage that as opposed to multiple people. Now I'm at the place where I want that sisterhood. I want to be around, more women when I'm looking at, different situations, women who are part of groups and sororities, etc. I'm like, wow, I love that. I would love that for myself. And I'm having to work towards having that as opposed to had I just learned earlier or, been had a different experience earlier, it would already be something that I have.
Um, I, I, it's always loaded when you want to like tell your younger self something, right? I think if I had to kind of go back in time and tell my younger self in order to, for better mental health, it's just to give myself grace.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that once again, because you don't want to fail in front of other people. It's just a part of life. It's a part of it's just a part of life, and you're going to fail, but what comes after that, of course, is how you travail and how you how you become resilient. And I think, yeah, allow yourself grace. And then also, uh, when when
Mhm.
people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Oh Lord, I tell you, that would have saved me so much heartache in college, in my 20s, if I just, Victoria, pay attention to the signs. Pay
Mhm.
attention to the signs, not the potential, but the signs, the actions. Whew. Okay, that's probably another conversation, Ashley, I'm sure. But yeah, give yourself grace and then believe people for who they are when they're in your life, for sure.
Absolutely. I think this has been a great conversation. I've enjoyed listening to y'all talking. Y'all, I'm glad that you ladies did have good conversation with each other and were able to speak to the topic. I do want to ask before we leave, is there anything going on that you want to invite the guests to? Do you have anything coming up or anything that you want to call out?
Well, like I mentioned, president of an organization, so the Houston Area Urban League Young Professionals. So we have a voter canvassing coming up in the third ward area of Houston, because we know that everyone's vote matters, and this is a very crucial election, especially in the state of Texas. And so we're trying to make sure that we are galvanizing registered voters to get out and vote. So if you are able to attend on November 5th, come out and canvass with us in that area. And our website is www.haulyp.org/events, and you can register for that event.
Awesome. Yeah. And so, good luck with all of that because you're absolutely right. It's a very pivotal time.
Yes.
And we definitely need, as much help in Texas and other states as well. I just heard yesterday something about not being able to teach about Martin Luther King in the schools in Texas going forward. And I was like, what? Not being able to teach about Native Americans. So
That's a whole of, like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we're not, yeah. So yes, get out and vote. So for me, I mentioned earlier about a podcast, and I'll just share quickly. That was another vulnerable moment for me. I didn't even know that that's what it was. So in 2020, I was wanted to launch a podcast, and I was hesitating. And my coach said, "Hey, you and I can say the same thing to the same audience, but it would only resonate coming from you." And then after, speaking with him, I was reading Brene Brown's book, Daring Greatly, and the first chapter was about vulnerability. And I'm like, oh, that's what it is. I had a fear of being vulnerable, so that kept me from launching my podcast. And once I recognized what it was, I owned it, I Nike'd it, and I launched it. So it's been 2+ years that I have been a creator and host of an intimate conversation with women of color. And so my podcast is on Fridays, episodes at midnight. And it's about elevating the voices of women of color. So I welcome, you all to listen to that. And if you're interested in lending your voice and sharing your voice, would love to have you on. And also, I started Deneen Consult. So I took, the 5-6 years of working in diversity and inclusion and talent development, and I leveraged that and I started my own business. And so my business is around consulting, coaching, and speaking. And again, like I said, I live a dream lifestyle. So part of the coaching is to empower women of color to live a dream lifestyle now. Like, don't wait until you are retirement age. I'm not retirement age. So don't wait until you're that traditional retirement age to retire and then now you want to start living. No, start doing that now. You don't have to leave your job, but just start doing more of what gives you joy. Start choosing yourself more. Start owning the strong Black woman. So whether you're like us who we're saying we don't want to be that anymore, after this conversation, I'm okay with being the strong Black woman, but redefining it. So being
Right.
a strong Black woman who says, I'm going to go and get the help that I need. I'm going to ask that gentleman to help me with my bag, if that's so I'm reclaiming it. I'm reframing it, pivoting it, and that's what I'm going to do with the strong Black woman. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I have going on right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. If you could get us the links to your consultant, I think I have the link for your podcast, so we can share that out to our
Yeah.
to absolutely. So we
So
can share that out.
DanielleGarrett.com is actually the DanielleGarrett.com will get you to my podcast. It would also get you to consulting. But DanineConsults.com is the direct link for the consulting business.
Awesome. Come on,
Okay.
Black Queen. Come on, Black Queen.
Oh,
Right. I'm trying to live that life. So I might have to hit that consultant
yes,
website up.
come on through. Now catch me, ladies, because like I said, my schedule,
Here, there, everywhere.
my office hours.
Yes, indeed. Well, this has been a great conversation. I thank y'all so much for providing such a great conversation. I thank you viewers for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank y'all for tuning in. And if you haven't, please hit that subscribe button below and turn on your post notifications so that whenever Cheese on My Cracker is posting a new show, whether it's the Getting My Cheese Back on My Cracker, the Wellness Collective, or the State of the Black Men's Mental Health, you'll be sure to get notifications whenever we have a new show coming out. Thank y'all and peace.
Thank you.